Great. So I think we can proceed. So why is our webinar today is so unique? For multiple reasons. The first one is, again, we're having Xcitium with us. And as I always say to you guys, Xcitium is probably today the most disruptive security vendor in the industry today. The way they transform the concept of endpoint protection is something that I have not seen before. And they have addressed challenges that no one else can address when it comes to endpoint protection. It's the first time I see zero trust plus real-time security all together working in a genius way for endpoints. And when I say endpoints, simple words, I mean by that anything that runs an operating system. That could be your Windows operating system, Linux, laptop, or Mac, or Windows servers, or Linux servers, or cloud instances, or virtual machines, or anything that runs an operating system. And why do we worry about operating systems and endpoints today, including mobile devices, iOS and Android? Because simply they are the end game. Hackers will not spend time and months trying to break through your security controls and network security and firewalls and proxies and web security gateways and email security and DLP and all of that if they can send a message, a simple message to one of your colleagues that clicks on it and installs the malware on their behalf. So endpoint is the end game today. And today we have a successful ransomware attack every 11 seconds. Major organizations in our region and the world have been attacked, despite the fact that they spend millions of dollars trying to protect their endpoints, and they have the best of the best of the best of the best endpoint protection, and yet they still fail to provide enough protection. So that's the first reason why our webinar is so unique. The second reason why this webinar is so unique is because we're showing you today how Xcitium helps you when it comes to compliance. And in our region, compliance is a huge thing, a huge topic. If you work with ARAMCO, you have to pass the ARAMCO CCC certification. And that's built around the SACS O2 requirements, and you have to pass that. Xcitium covers a lot of what is needed when it comes to such certification. And it's not ARAMCO only, it's different places in the world, including the international standards like ISO 27001 and others. Today we have Ryan from Xcitium. So thanks to Ryan for supporting our region, always waking up so early in the United States to join us here. So thank you for your support, buddy. And the way we will go is that we will have Ryan provide you guys with a simple presentation showing you why Xcitium again is different. And then we will focus the discussion. We will have a focused discussion on compliance, especially SACS O2, the ones that Aramco and other organizations depend on. Please pay attention and be with us, because today we're giving gifts, we're giving giveaways, vouchers to several numbers. Some people from the attendees today. Ryan will be sending you emails with these gift vouchers as a gesture, a thank you gesture for being with us today. It all depends on your contribution and interactive discussions. There is a limited number of giveaways that will be given to people, but we will be happy to see you winning one of those. So Ryan, to you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mode. Yeah, of course. I love hopping on here with you guys to just help just kind of spread the word of Xcitium and, you know, how unique and powerful our technology really is. Thank you so much to the Distilogix team. They're definitely one of the best partners that I cover on the couple of continents that I interact with here. And Mode is a true champion of the product, knows it very, very well. So yeah, to reinforce what Mo just said there, yeah, we are going to give away some gift cards, and you know, really we want to give those to people that were really interacting with us, asking some questions, and you know, trying to get all the knowledge out of me while I'm here, right? And yes, Mode, it is very early here. I think I had to wake up at about 4 o'clock this morning. It's 5 a.m. right now. But you know, again, like I said, with great partners like you, Mode, I have no problem you know, hopping on here super early to contribute. So yep, let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'll kind of take it away here. And we'll get going. So Mode, you can see my screen, correct?
Yes, I can.
Perfect, guys. So just going to go over just some high level, you know, product training. Don't really want to get down to the nitty gritty, but sometimes I do get a little carried away. I'm a bit of a storyteller myself. So sometimes maybe instead of getting super technical, I will just tell a story to help you visualize, you know, really how our technology is working. Okay. So Mode, Omar, if there's any questions you guys see in the chat that you want me to answer, just feel free to share when we can. Okay.
Yeah, actually, we encourage everyone to ask questions and keep the session active as much as possible. We will address your questions on the go. Please.
Perfect. All right. So yes, guys, just to properly introduce myself, my name is Ryan Murphy. I am the director of sales for the EMEA region for Xcitium, but I also wear a couple hats, of course. I'm also, before I hopped into this role, I am also the director of training and sales enablement here at Xcitium. So I train everyone from the internal all the way to the partner level, and even just sometimes the customers, you know, if they just want to know a little bit more. So let me just give you kind of a deep dive into kind of who we are as an organization, and so that you can, you know, feel a little bit, you know, safer knowing, you know, how effective we've truly been since we've really hopped into the cyberspace about 8 years ago. So here at Xcitium, we have over 6,000 customers in over 120 countries. We're on about 4 million endpoints. So we have tons of nodes out there gathering all the telemetry that we love to see for all those known threats. And then we have over 27 patents in the space, all of which revolve around our ZeroDwell containment technology, which I'm definitely going to deep dive into here in a few. And to kind of put that in perspective, most cybersecurity companies only have around 5 to 6 patents. So, you know, we have quite a few here. And the reason why we've obtained so many patents is because this technology is so different, and we just don't want anybody copying us. So we are truly the only, you know, player in the space doing what we're doing here. And because of how amazing this technology works, it really focuses on that detectionless protection rather than just detection. We are happy to say that to date, since the inception of the technology back in 2017, 18, we have 0 breaches to date. And that right there is amazing. On top of just, you know, that peace of mind that we haven't had any breaches as an organization. On top of that, we also like to put our money where our mouth is. We have some incredible features included inside a lot of our packages, and we have some pretty, you know, like I said, put our money where our mouth is guarantees and warranties. I want you guys to, again, gives you that peace of mind that if something were to happen, we still have your back. So now what I want to talk about, guys, is just really starting back in the 90s and talking about, you know, where the cybersecurity industry, you know, kind of started back in the 90s with John McAfee and just this, you know, the typical antivirus to where we're really at today. And really want to talk about really, you know, how just is the industry broken? And, you know, I don't want to single out any vendor because that's just not fair. Really what I want to talk about is just the industry itself. So like I said, starting back in the 90s, you know, we started with, you know, the amazing technology from John McAfee, and, you know, that the antivirus was truly developed, right? That stopped a lot of the damage that we were seeing back in the early times of the people that were really investing a lot into the computer science here. And then obviously we transitioned up into the 2000s and 2010s. We're developing all these additional layers, right? Because the multi-layer approach is what we recommend and what every vendor would really recommend in today's day. And, you know, starting out in the 2000s and the 2010s is where we really started to see that more sophisticated technologies like host intrusion prevention and even that next gen antivirus, and of course even that behavioral analysis, not just looking for signatures but looking for how it's interacting in your environment, trying to learn quicker, right? To even where we're at now in the more present day with, you know, AI and machine learning. But as you all know, with all these amazing technologies, there's people on the other side that are, you know, completely combating us, and they're creating these new variants of malware every single day. I think it's up to over 450,000 pieces of malware, new malware created every single day. So as you guys can imagine, it's a pretty scary place out there. And everyone wants to be protected. They don't want to pay, an arm and a leg, even though sometimes that's what's needed. And sometimes even when they do pay an arm and a leg, they still are ending up getting breached because they're all relying on detection. So after even all these amazing layers of security that we're all familiar with, whether it's antivirus, firewall, AI, machine learning, all these layers are amazing, but they all rely on one thing, and that is detection first. So they have to be able to detect to be able to protect. So think about it that way, guys, is that, some of the biggest vendors in the space, they say, hey, I have all these big customers. I'm on these tens of millions of endpoints. That means I have the biggest repository of known good and known bad, signatures and indicators and inside of our database. Well, that's great to hear, but none of that matters in a true 0-day attack or instance, right? Because having those known bad and known good signatures on an unknown aren't going to help you. So what I want to do now is, like I said, like I promised, is I want to tell a quick story. I want to talk about really how does damage typically happen. And I want to do this one a little bit different than I've usually done on some of my webinars. And I really want to try to get you guys to visualize what is happening every day and why these breaches continue to occur. So as a lot of you, I would imagine, know, it doesn't matter how much training we give our end customers or our internal organizations, we're still going to have that one guy or that one gal that comes in every Monday morning just ready to click on every email that's inside of their email box, just waiting for them, right? And unfortunately, even with all these sophisticated technologies like email protection and anti-spam and anti-phishing, they still make their way through because those are detection-based technologies. So let's just take that as an example here, right? Let's just say it's a nice, Sunday or Monday morning. One of your employees walks into work that day and just says, I'm so ready to click on just everything that I see in my inbox today. And at one point, they detonate a piece of 0-day malware, right? So never been seen before, no signature, no indicators, no behaviors. So let's kind of see how that would stack up against traditional endpoint security. So as you guys all know, the first thing that happens is that file lookup system, right? We just ask one simple question at execution. We ask, do we know who you are? It's very, very simple. Yes or no. In most cases, it's going to be yes. If it's good, we allow it to run. If it's bad, we block it, right? That's easy antivirus technology. Now, but what happens whenever you ask that file lookup system, do I know who you are? And it comes back as no. Well, in this case, all the detection-based layers, it's going to pass those tests because it does not know if it's good or bad, and it's not want to block everything just because it's unknown. Because even though in this scenario, as I mentioned, we're executing a piece of 0-day malware, in most cases, just because something is unknown does not mean that it is necessarily bad. So in this case, it passes that AV test, and now it moves on to more sophisticated layers of security that we see today, and even more of those kind of hot commodities such as AI and machine learning. We all know how smart AI and machine learning is, but it only knows what it's seen, what it's been taught, and what it's learned, throughout the past. And in this case, this was something that was made this morning, and there's no way that it could correctly determine whether that piece of that executable was good or bad instantaneously. So what happens? The file executes, it infects the network, and this right here is where the competitors that you're normal with, that you're familiar with, will come in, and they'll now that all the EDR alerts are going off because we're now seeing malicious activity and damage happening, now they're able to detect because they are able to see all those alerts and see the damage. Now that they're seeing the behavior, now they can detect it. But that's the problem, is that they're supposed to be there to protect you in the first place. But in reality, what's happening is they're allowing an unknown executable to gain access to your critical resources and infect your system. So then they have to come in, they isolate the machine, cut it off from the network, and they clean it up for you. So the answer to a lot of one of my favorite questions to ask is, first, kind of setting that stage, I think we can all agree 100% detection just does not exist. It's just mathematically impossible, right? And if that's the case, and every single layer of security that you're familiar with is reliant on detection, that means at some point they are going to fail. So it's not an if, it's when, right? And so now they have to come in and remediate and clean that machine up. And sometimes ask yourself that question: is what's that process for when your vendor fails in detection? And just know that no matter what answer you come up with in your head, the true answer is remediation. They're going to have to clean up the damage. And in most cases, guys, that's going to accrue a bill. You're going to have to pay for some incident response in some cases. And that's just not what we want. We want to be protected. We want to not use any resources, and we want things to be lightweight and, really have that true peace of mind. So now let's kind of talk about the Xcitium difference, right? What we're doing a little bit different now. Because as I mentioned, everyone in the space typically is using the same layers of security, just with different colors and logos and marketing schemes. And they might emphasize on something, that they do specifically a little bit different. But really what we're doing here, like at Xcitium, is what I mentioned earlier, is we have this patented technology. And it's just not just the technology itself, it's also just the patented process on what we're doing here. So we'll take that same exact, super excited employee on that Sunday or Monday morning, just ready to click on all those emails. They click on that same piece of 0-day malware and it executes. And again, we ask that same simple question here at Xcitium at execution is, do we know who you are? Again, if it's yes, we know what to do with that. We just pass that all to our detection-based technologies because we already know what it is. But again, anytime it comes back with that answer of no, I don't know who you are, it's instantly identified as an unknown. And this is where I want to really kind of get you guys to visualize how our technology truly works. Is think about it this way: anytime we get that unknown verdict at execution, we throw some VR goggles on that executable and we kind of open up that trap door and we send it to where we want it to send. But since he's got those VR goggles on, he's able to think that he has the access to your critical resources that he wants to. It's because when we trigger our ZeroDwell containment, what we do is we virtualize 3 main components, and that's we give it fake read-write access to the registry, the hard drive, and the COM interface. And since we are allowing have it those 3 fake accesses, it truly thinks that's the air, food, and water that malware needs to thrive. Without access to those resources, malware will act benign until it has those resources. So since we're giving it everything it would need to thrive, but we're allowing it to run and through this containment technology and in our safe space local on the endpoint, that we are essentially just tricking the malware into thinking that they have the access that they need and that they're going to start doing the job that they were built to do. When in reality, since it's gone through that trap door, I like to say that we kind of throw it inside of that police station interrogation room. I know you guys can all visualize that, the nice little metal table with the 2 chairs and the one-way mirror, right? So now that it's inside that interrogation room, it doesn't know that it's in there because it's got those VR goggles on. But through that one-way mirror, we have all of our detection-based tools, such as our AI and machine learning and our EDR, and it's gathering all that telemetry since we're allowing this thing to execute, but in that safe space. It's just showing us all of its cards. We know what it's trying to do. We know who it's trying to call out to. And the great thing here is, guys, while something is in containment, we are still able to give you the access to that file and see everything that you would normally see from just a normal executable. But the difference is that we're not giving it that access to the critical resources. We're giving it access to that fake safe space to where it can thrive, but no damage is actually going to occur. And once we have gathered all the telemetry that we want to see, we send it up to our verdicting system to give us the most accurate verdict, since it was able to fully execute in that safe space. So we have the best determination on what this file truly is. And if it comes back with a good verdict, then we just release it out of the container and allow it to play with the rest of the resources. If it comes back as bad, which in this case it is, we encrypt it, we delete it from your endpoint, we hide it for our SOC analysts to investigate later so that we can report it to VirusTotal if we need to help make the world a little bit of a safer place. So now I know what you guys might be thinking. I've said things like container and safe space and virtualization and shadow copy files and things like that. You might be thinking this sounds a little bit like a sandbox. And in most cases, you guys, it sounds a little bit like that. And that's usually the thing that most closely represents kind of how our technology works. But we've made some massive strides in the space, right? Because when you say the word sandbox, there's sometimes some downfalls of the legacy sandbox technology you might be familiar with. And I think the first and most important would be resource consumption. That old legacy sandbox technology used to consume anywhere from 90 to 95% of your CPU usage and a ton of your RAM memory as well. And for us, since we're only replicating the three main components rather than duplicating the entire environment, we're able to stay in that 1 to 3% CPU usage. And when I say 1 to 3, the 3% being on our more older legacy operating systems such as Windows XP. That's how lightweight we truly are. So we're not going to bog down your system like old legacy technologies. Second, where I think that some of the older legacy technologies kind of fell short is that since it's a unknown and just the aspect of how sandboxing kind of started back in the day, they don't give you access to that file because they don't want you interacting with an unknown, right? Well, for us, we understand that most unknowns turn out to be benign. So we don't want to hinder your productivity, just like we don't want to bog down your system. So since we're using a process called kernel filtering, we are able to give you that access to that executable in real time, whether it's a file or an application. So for example, if you had like a Word or an Excel document that got contained because it has an unknown path, you're still going to be able to access that file. You can go about your normal day. You can copy, edit, paste, do whatever you would normally do to that file or executable without hindering your productivity. And that right there is just, it's game breaking because it's sometimes it could still scare you if it does turn out to be bad, because it'll be wrapped in a nice little green box to show you that something is in containment. But in reality, that file it's in a safe space, and we're not going to let it out until we know that that executable is safe. So rather than hoping and guessing that it is good, we're ensuring that we find out that this is a known good before we let it leave that container and go play with the rest of your normal resources. And then I think the last thing I'd like to talk about with our containment technology is, since we are local on the endpoint, guys, we don't need internet connectivity to protect you. Right? Say in the worst, a random case here, and I know you guys might be thinking, well, why would we not have internet, Ryan? Well, think about, I know my friend Mode here he's a busy guy. He travels all around the world to meet with amazing customers, all like you guys, and partners like you guys. And think about Mode. Before he leaves to go on his next business trip, he downloads a bunch of his work that he wants to accomplish while he's on his long plane ride. Say in that case is one of your customers or one of your employees, and they hop on that plane and they download a bunch of things so that they can work on the plane, and one of those things happens to be a piece of malware, or a piece of 0-day. If you're 30,000 feet in the sky, guys, and you're not connected to the internet, how is your incumbent vendor supposed to be able to protect you without that internet connectivity? How are they supposed to be able to respond if you're an offline device? They're not going to be able to. So since our technology is local and on the endpoint itself, if we can't make that call to the file lookup system because we're not connected to the internet, and that signature of that executable is not in our local repository, we just contain it. We just throw it in containment. And once you connect back to the internet is whenever we'll be able to make that correct determination. So again, even without internet connectivity, we're able to protect you. That is how powerful this technology truly is. Now, next,
before we proceed, right? Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Mohammed, please. Sorry.
So I wanted to take like a couple of questions, Ryan, because there are like few of them, but I wanted you to finish the containment description. So let me start with Nishad. He asked about the question of warranty for 1 year, just like subscription. I think, Nishad, you're referring to the ZeroDwell warranty. And yes, Xcitium has such a program. And the great thing about Xcitium is that it's not like any other program with like a million pages of tiniest fonts of things that you cannot read and terms that you have to accept and all of that. It's very simple. You deploy the solution, you follow the best practices, you get an audit from Xcitium professional services team, they engage to look at your documents, and then you can get that work.
Muhammad, your sound is, we can't hear you.
Apologies, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's a lot better, yeah.
Apologies, guys. Apologies again. Apologies for that. So the first one was Nishad. The question from Nishad is about the warranty program. And my response is yes, Xcitium has something called ZeroDwell warranty, which has certain conditions. That's not like any other thing. And the great thing about them is that they don't have what we call retainers, like many other providers in the region make you pay. Why? So that if they fail, they can recover. That's like probably the dumbest thing to do. They make you pay for their failures. So this doesn't work. Doesn't happen with Xcitium. So yeah, there is warranty on MDR, and yes, it is based on the lifetime of your contract with Xcitium. So if you do have a 1-year contract or a 5-year contract, then it is subject to the lifetime of that contract. All proxy functions or limited proxy functions as normal bundle. I'm not sure if I understand this well, Nishad, but I think you're referring to integration with other elements in your network security, including web security. Now, I would say the parent company of Xcitium, Komodo, they do have web security gateways that you can use. They are unique in the way they address web security and URL filtering, which is based on DNS. But that's like an extra solution. It's not provided by the Xcitium security client that you install on your endpoints. They are not part of that. URL filtering on the endpoint is based on certain capabilities given to the endpoint alone. It's not a full-fledged endpoint solution. The same thing applies to the DLP. So if you wanna, as part of the defense in depth, you get DLP features that could be enabled on your endpoint. It's not a full-fledged DLP solution, but you can have keywords. You can have the Xcitium client learn about keywords and prevent documents that have these keywords from leaking, and you can apply conditions on USB memory stick and stuff like that, so that people do not leak your documents. But it's not a full-fledged. If you're referring to that, it's not a full-fledged web gateway, and it's not a full-fledged DLP solution. If you need a full-fledged web gateway, then you have to go to the Komodo Secure Internet Gateway or any other proxy or web gateway that other providers have, such as Symantec and ForcePoint and others. Now, there is a question from Hosam. Oh, there's a lot of questions, guys. Apologies that we did not pay attention to that. So there is a question from Hosam. How can I ensure that
your audio again, Mode?
Can you hear me?
I can hit a couple of these if you want, so you don't have to do all the time.
Please take it. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
So the next question here is the warranty by default, and is it with specific licensing models? So that is kind of a two-part question. We have two different types of guarantees here. So we have our Xcitium breach warranty, which really the only requirement is that, and obviously from an administrative level that we don't like turn off our protections, of course, and uninstall our agent and things like that. From an administrator level, obviously we have a tamper-proof password for any type of uninstalling, even against sophisticated, malware that try to uninstall those technologies themselves. But for our breach warranty, that even works on our lowest package, which is our Xcitium Advanced. That's something that only thing that's really required is that you use our professional services to help with the implementation, right? So with the help, and again, to kind of clarify it, in most cases, you're already going to use our resources to deploy our product, right? So we just want to ensure that there's people out there that are on a budget and they don't always have all of the funding needed for the proper amount of implementation hours. But as long as we've included some and we don't do anything malicious from an internal standpoint, from turning off our protections, then that's the warranty that you'll have by default per se. It's just need to purchase professional services. And then the other aspect is the one that Mode was just mentioning for our MDR and XDR customers, is that, as he said, we don't require any incident response retainer, and we include for free unlimited incident response for all of our managed customers. So that's truly kind of where we're putting our money where our mouth is. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit more here in a bit when I talk about how we package things. And then for the licensing model there, it's very simple. We do prepaid licenses on yearly or multi-year contracts, right? And Mode can obviously give you some more in-depth details on kind of really how we package it and then pricing as well. The next question I have here is, how can I persuade my boss or customer when they draw comparisons between Xcitium and other industry leaders in the space, especially in the prominent region, and that they have great reputations? Is my answer here is really the first point of my presentation, is that every single layer of protection between the companies that you mentioned, every single layer relies on detection, right? So every single layer, whether it's antivirus, firewall, host intrusion prevention, AI machine learning, or EDR, it's even in the name of EDR, endpoint detection and response, they have to be able to detect to be able to protect. So if they're not able to detect, how are they going to be able to protect you, right? And again, that question that you should ask your boss or your customer is, first, I'll make them understand and agree with you that, hey, we can both agree 100% detection doesn't exist, because if it did, we wouldn't have breaches every single day, right? So since that's the case, the next question you should ask them is, what is our current process or your current process for when your vendor fails in detection? And that's a very important question to ask your current vendor, because the end result, no matter what they say, the true end result is when they fail in detection, the answer is remediation. That means damage was caused, even from the smallest aspect, and now they have to go clean it up. And depending on what package you have with what certain organization, you're probably in most cases going to have to pick up that bill for the incident response. So Mohammed, usually I don't like to, highlight certain vendors, but I think this is a good question here. The question is, what's the difference between SentinelOne and Xcitium, right? So obviously SentinelOne has great technology, guys. I don't want to say that they don't. Like I just said, they focus all strictly on detection. Of course, at SentinelOne, they have this unique rollback technology, right? But again, they are relying on detection as the first step. So if that rollback technology cannot work until they detect it. And so how long did it take for them to detect that breach? Did it take them 10 seconds? Did it take them 10 minutes? Did it take them 10 hours? Did it take them 10 days? So that's an important question that you need to ask, Mohammed, because when they start that rollback technology and rewriting of the registry, first, we want to hope that the rewriting of the registry does not mess up and completely brick your endpoint. But second, if it took 10 days, it's going to take 10 days to roll that back. So there you are again, losing that productivity. And that's the difference between us, is that we don't have to rely on remediation. We have put all of the unknowns in our containment and stop the damage in real time. And when we see damage, we just clear the container, and there was never any real damage to begin with. So there's no need for a rollback. Abraham, you asked if we could have a demo session to see what you mean with the containment. Of course, please just reach out to Mode, and we will be able to get that set up for you. No problem. We can get that going as early as, what's today, Thursday, maybe tomorrow, but I think probably next week would be best. Next questions here. I'm going to kind of run through a couple of these really quick so we can kind of continue on with the presentation here. Which operating system can use Xcitium? All will work, of course. We work on Windows, Mac, and Linux. We right now specifically work 100% on obviously Windows. And right now, I think actually on December 22nd, not to, give too much away, but we will be releasing our containment for Mac OS. So we're pretty excited for that. That's the official release date. We may not go live until the beginning of the year, but we're very, very excited about that. How can I ensure that my endpoint security is the best from technical wise? So that's a great question. I think that what you have to do is our solution ourselves, even though it's amazing technology, is that, we have to ensure that, we're the right fit for you, and that, it kind of goes both ways, right? So what you have to do is just ask the question is, what's more important to you? If you only have a limited budget and there's certain things that have higher priority depending on what you are currently experiencing in your environment, is just identifying with that vendor, do they check all of those boxes there? What's the most important for you? For most people, it's to be protected at the end of the day. Usually they're okay with the manual process to do some certain things, but at the end of the day, they want to be protected. So if that's your end result, is that you want to have that true peace of mind and not be that next logo that shows up on the news for a breach in your area, give Mode a call and let's set up a demo, and we'll show you how impactful it truly works. The next one I have here is any program for customers who look positive to move from EDR XDR to Xcitium. What commercial benefits do we get? So obviously here at Xcitium, we are still technically an EDR vendor per se, right? We include EDR in all of our packages, which I'll go over here in a minute. And especially if you're an XDR customer, where you're really going to see the true benefits is, first, our containment technology stops all the damage. So our SOC team does not have to worry again about sifting through all those alerts and false positives and things like that from your EDR, from your current EDR. We have a fantastic platform that really breaks down our alerts based on their fidelity and how high risk they may be. And we can really cut out a lot of that noise to where our SOC team can actually do all the things that they promised, such as, proactively threat hunting and helping you strengthen your security posture rather than just managing your EDR alerts. And I think the great thing is, because how powerful our technology is and how much heavy lifting it does, is that we've able to obviously eliminate a lot of the costs, especially the ones that revolve around the incident response retainer and all the incident response. For example, guys, MGM casinos in Las Vegas in September were breached from a phishing attack. The incumbent vendor passed all blame to the customer, to the casino, because they were successfully phished, even though that's a very common practice in the space. That's that fine print that Mode was talking about earlier, with all the other vendors, picking up the bill. And then they had to pay the ransom, which was $15 million. And then from the sources I'm seeing on the blog post that I follow, they paid over $40 million in incident response. So put it in perspective, if we were that incumbent member, first, I don't think the damage would have happened, but let's say it did, they would have not had to pay one penny for us to clean up the mess. So again, when any questions revolving around how do we compare to any other vendor, is that every other vendor is detection based, and we don't rely on detection as the first step in protecting you. Anything that is unknown goes through our containment technologies. Do we have partners in Africa? Well, you're looking at my friend Mode here. He is one of our distributors. He has a wide range of resellers and partners throughout the Middle East and Africa. So if you're looking for a specific region, please just reach out to Mode and he will be able to direct you to the correct people. That's probably my friend Nadir here, if I had to guess.
Yeah, we can work together in Africa. Like, we have partners in Africa. It's gonna be good.
Of course. And again, we are agent-based, Mohammed, here. So to answer your question, there is 2 agents that have to be installed. They are, like I said, very lightweight, and we have multiple forms and ways to deploy. So there are a bunch more questions kind of rolling in here, but what I want to do is I'll save these kind of for the end here, and I'm going to kind of finish going on with the presentation so that we can kind of get this ball rolling a little bit more, and then we'll come back to the rest of the questions at the end, or anything that we're not able to answer. We can just schedule some time with Mode and we'll kind of go from there. So as I was mentioning before, guys, and as you can see on the screen here, it's a very crowded space, as you guys mentioned. You guys are asking for comparisons against a lot of the vendors in the space. And that's where I challenge you guys to, ask some of the questions that we ask, such as ask your vendor what their current process is for when they fail at detection, right? But as you can see, there is over 400 vendors. But like I said, they all rely on detection. Does not matter who they are. And we are the only true zero threat player. And what I mean by that, guys, is with our containment, think about it this way. Everyone wants that zero trust, right? But zero trust means blocking everything we don't know and verify. And again, as we said, we don't like that because that hinders your user productivity. For us with the containment, think about it this way. We are that default deny protection. So that zero trust detection or protection with that default allow accessibility, since we're able to give you the access to that file in real time. And I think that is very, very powerful. So now to visualize kind of where we sit at in the stack, my friends, here's all the tools that you guys are familiar with, right? So from the pre-execution side, we have obviously your antivirus, your host intrusion prevention, your firewall, your patch management, your DLP. And on the post-execution side, you have all of your DRs, right? Your EDR, your MDR, your XDR, even that AI and machine learning, even that human aspect. But we are the only organization that at execution, 0.0000 infinity, when you execute something, we can protect you at runtime with no possibility of damage, because everything known will just go to the detection-based layers. Everything unknown will go through that ZeroDwell containment. And now, this is one of my favorite slides, guys. This is something that I feel like that we do very, very good and kind of differ from a lot of our competitors here, is that we really try not to nickel and dime our customers. We have 3 main packages that we focus on. We have maybe 1 or 2 products on the side, as Mo mentioned earlier. We have some internet, secure internet gateway and our secure email gateway. But other than those 2 things, every single thing else is included in one of these 3 packages. It's very simple, right? So as you guys can imagine, you guys buy your basic antivirus, and then they upsell you on EDR, and then they upsell you on RMM and on your SIM solutions and patching and your firewall. And then at the end of the day, now that you feel protected, you have 9 different contracts with 9 different vendors, all to perform one simple task, which is in protecting you. It's not simple, but we hope that it would be simple. So the great thing is, guys, everything you're seeing here on the screen, we include in most of our packages here. So it's very, very powerful. We can consolidate a lot of your licenses into one unified solution and kind of have that single sign-on per se. You just can log into our platform and you'll have access to all the tools that you will need to perform your day-to-day activities and tasks. So now you might be asking, kind of, how do we package this, right? So here we have, like I said, we have those 3 main packages. We have the Xcitium Advanced. It comes with all those detection-based layers, right? So your antivirus, your firewall, all the ones that I've already mentioned. Of course, it comes with our ZeroDwell containment. We're giving you the visibility that you need with our endpoint detection and response, that EDR layer. And then we have our amazing endpoint manager. So as of right now, it comes with our RMM tool, our ticketing system, and our patch management, all included in our platform. And then on top of that, as of right now, and I say as of right now because we're going to be doing some major enhancements next year to our mobile device management platform. But as of right now, each license that you purchase, you get 5 free mobile device licenses. So you'll, in most cases, we won't have to pay for having the management over your, cell phones and tablets for your company use. Now, for Xcitium Managed and Complete, these are those managed services, those MDR, XDR solutions. These are the ones where every other MDR organization in the world. So if you guys are currently an MDR customer, think about it this way. Look in your contract, and I promise you there is a section in there about incident response and your incident response retainer. I promise your finance guys paid at some point for either a certain amount of incidents, or they prepaid for that retainer per se, right? But I want to break that down for you, right? You go to an organization, you go to a cyber vendor, you say, I want to be protected, and I want to be protected well. So they said, well, then you don't want this first package. You want these top tier MDR, XDR packages. But they're saying these are a lot better. So you're going to have to pay 4, 5, sometimes 10x compared to that low end package. And that package is going to protect you best. And then you're all excited. But then they say, but wait, now I need you to give me $30,000 as prepayment so that if we do fail, that we can use that to cover the cost of your incident response. And so I want to just say that one more time in a different way, because it is ludicrous. Think about it this way, guys. Say you guys are a celebrity and you need to hire a bodyguard to protect you, right? Because you can't go out in public without getting, crowded and hounded. Well, you hire this bodyguard, you feel excited, you feel safe because you've got him. And since he wasn't able to detect the damage coming to you, you get beaten up. And even though you got beaten up, you still have to pay your bodyguard at the end of the day. It sounds a little backwards. So in layman's terms for you guys, every other vendor in the world, when they fail at protecting you, you and your customers have to pick up the bill. For us, if we fail in protecting our customers, we pick up the bill and we fix it for free. The great thing, guys, we've never had to do it. Again, like as I said, since 2018, we have had 0 breaches and none of our customers have ever had to pay a ransom. So again, inside that Xcitium Managed, that is the biggest differentiator between any other MDR vendor in the world. And what we're doing here as well, obviously includes everything inside that Xcitium Advanced package, but now we have that 24/7, 365 SOC aspect there as your true peace of mind that we're going to protect you even while you're sleeping. And of course, it's going to come with all the reporting that you need, so on and so forth. And then for the Xcitium Complete, guys, this is our full-fledged XDR platform. So now we're able to deploy our network and cloud sensors. So now we can ingest all of that additional information, that network traffic, maybe your firewall logs from another firewall, or logs from another SIM, or Office 365, or AWS, or Azure. Almost honestly anything, almost with an API, we can ingest that information to have a better understanding of your environment, so that we're not just focusing on the endpoint. So really we can kind of lock down any of those vulnerabilities and really, like I said, give you that true peace of mind there, right? And it really just, having that peace of mind at night just makes us all sleep a little bit better, right? So really, guys, that's all I have, from the presentation standpoint. What I'd love to do too is I want to maybe kick this back over to Mode, and maybe we want to answer some more questions, or maybe he can kind of get back into the certification of following or surrounding ARAMCO. I don't want to take up the whole meeting here, even though I know we check a lot of those boxes, but I'm excited to see all of the questions. I really appreciate everybody engaging with us today. I think, just having the conversation and talking about it really, really, opens up people's eyes to some of the problems that we're seeing, and then maybe how Xcitium is that solution to some of those problems. So Mode, back over to you. Sorry I took up so much time there.
Okay, Ryan, it was really a great session, and I'll pick up a few questions. I hope you guys can hear me well. Let me know if you cannot hear me well. So I'll pick up some questions, and then we move on to the compliance side. I've seen lots of questions around comparing Xcitium to other vendors like Trend Micro and SentinelOne, and we do have those comparisons, and we will share them with you. Most of them are already available online, so you can see them online. This is how brave Xcitium is. They provide comparison online, and we challenge anyone to come and say, I don't like that comparison. So comparisons are online. Some of them, like some vendors, maybe they're not online. If not, I'll share them with you guys upon request. But it goes down to the simple definition of what Xcitium does. Xcitium gives you the last mile protection without detection, because detection fails. It does fail. It cannot provide you 100% protection, and I can say it doesn't provide you enough protection. Why? Because techniques and tactics and procedures outperformed the capabilities of detection. And that's what Forbes said. If you go to Google now and search about Forbes article. There was an article from Forbes that said the name of the article was, the title of the article was, why the dwell time is not going down. Dwell time, as per Gartner definition, is the time needed by your detection tools like EDR and next generation antivirus to detect and respond to a malware or ransomware. And it varies from 17 days to 200 days. And I don't know how good they try to make it lower, but Forbes said, why it's not going down? And yes, it's not going down because techniques and tactics and procedures of ransomware today outperform the capabilities of detection. So Xcitium doesn't really compare to other vendors. It compares to the whole stack of detection tools. We do not provide you with full protection by detection only. Forbes said detection first policies failed. Detection first strategies fail if your protection of your digital assets, if the strategy you have in place is based on detecting malicious behaviors and ransomwares and indicators of compromise, then it's a failure. Simple as that. You can Google it, it's already available online. So the first thing is that we don't do detection. We still have detection pieces as part of the defense in depth of provided by Xcitium. You still need detection tools because they stop 95, 97% of the attacks, and the 3% of vicious attacks will be taken care of by the Xcitium zero threat technology, so that you will be safe. And that's a lot. Ryan said we have more than 450,000 malware every day, new malware every day. And if you Google it now, you'll find that's more than 560,000 new malware every single day. If 1% only of that 500,000 new pieces of malware and ransomware is not detected, that's a disaster. Then we have thousands of new pieces of malware lurking the internet. If you're the unlucky customer that is hit by that ransomware now, it's a 100% success, no matter how good your endpoint protection is, SentinelOne or Trend Micro or anyone else. So the first major differentiator is that detection is not our last mile of protection like anyone else. Detection is not enough. The second thing, none of them operate at the kernel level. We hold the operating system from its neck. Our client goes down to the kernel of the operating system to virtualize your critical resources. Just to let you know, understand what I mean by critical resources. When a ransomware piece runs on your endpoint, does it execute its line of like command lines by itself? It needs the CPU to run those commands. It needs your memory. It needs your file system driver to locate your files to be able to encrypt them. It needs your I/O driver to communicate with your storage. It needs your network card driver to communicate with the command and control center, I don't know, anywhere in the world. It needs those. Those are the critical resources. Those are the ones that we call kernel filters. Those are the ones that we virtualize for unknowns. If you have unknown file, we do not allow it to touch your real critical resources. We virtualize them and we let it do whatever it wants. The moment it tries to cause harm, we will wipe it out. That's a major differentiator. Everyone else operates at a higher level, not at the kernel level. They either the rootkit level, administrative level, or even higher levels, even sandboxing itself. So that's why we don't consume much of your resources. We're holding it from the neck. Even when we virtualize resources, tech critical resources, we don't cause a major interruption to your operation. And that's why also Xcitium Client is the only one that allows you, as Frost and Sullivan said, allows you to provide protection with zero interruption to business. In our demos, we let you use an infected Word file, like type increase the font, insert images in an infected file. This has never happened before. Of course, when it's infected, we have to wipe it out. But for demonstration purposes, we show you how the technology works. Even if it's infected, even if it's ransomware encrypting your data, we still give you access to the file. And then the ransomware finds that it was encrypting virtualized data, not your real data, and your data is safe. The third thing I always ask my customers and resellers to do, and it's a major differentiator of what we do, send an email message to any name. Trend Micro, the name was mentioned here. Sentinel One was mentioned. Kaspersky, Symantec. Send an email message, an official message, saying, here, XYZ. Do you confirm that, I don't know, in the last 5 months, 4 months, whatever, choose the period you want, can you officially confirm that none of your customers was compromised? None of them will respond with yes. None. The only one that is capable to respond with a big all cap yes, bold, font 20 is Xcitium. And not only in the last 5 months, since beginning of 2018, and data is published. So I don't want to spend much time because I want to go back also to the compliance piece, but it's all about that. What Xcitium is doing is something different. They're protecting your endpoints in a different way. Everyone is trying to protect you by making their detection capabilities better and better and better, by investing billions of dollars of making their detection capabilities better than others. This is old. EDR is a 12-year, 10-year-old, 11-year-old now technology. Gartner introduced it officially in 2012, and it has been there like for 2 years before that. Antivirus and the whole thing around it has been there for like, I don't know, 30 years now. We're introducing something different, not investing in the same thing over and over and over. Let's go quickly through the others. Do you have an on-prem solution? The enterprise platform that helps you manage your endpoints, configure them, push the security clients, and do all of that, including the Valkyrie cloud-based verdicting system. This is all cloud. So we are typically a cloud-based solution like CrowdStrike. But the good thing, which Ryan mentioned now, is that even if your endpoint is disconnected, and even you are as an admin, you can prevent your endpoint from communicating to the Xcitium cloud. Even if it's disconnected, if you install the Xcitium client today and take it to the middle of the desert and leave it there for 5 years disconnected from everything, and then bring a USB memory stick with a piece of malware on it, run it, still Xcitium will contain it and will block it. Why? Because it doesn't trust anything. Anything that's not known to it, known to that Xcitium client, will not be allowed to touch your critical resources or kernel objects. It will be redirected into an isolated environment. If it tries to cause harm, it wipes it out, even if it has never seen it before, even if it hasn't been updated and so on. But the straightforward answer, we're a cloud-based solution, not an on-prem solution. What is the Medicore control? I read this term somewhere in Gartner reviews. I'm not sure what you're referring by Medicore about, but I'm not sure if it's related to file integrity or something like that, but I'm not sure, honestly. I'll research it later for you. Is it certified by OT devices like Honeywell? No, we do not install the Xcitium client on embedded systems. It has to be an operating system. It could anything that is like, it could work on some IoT devices, like if it's Windows 10, if it is Linux-based IoT device, if it is Linux, Mac, Windows with lots of versions, server versions, and desktop versions, we install it. But OT devices, if they are embedded, if they're not based on Linux, not based on Windows IoT, 10 IoT, then we cannot install Xcitium client on it. And that's why we provide proxies using Protellian, for example. And through Protellian proxies, we protect such devices, OT devices. But most OT devices, by the way, the new ones now, most of them are Linux-based OT devices or Windows 10 IoT devices, which can be protected. What is the expert threat hunting?
The threat hunting, yeah.
Threat hunting happens through the SOC services team, and it's a big thing for everyone except Xcitium, because as Ryan mentioned, the innovation in the technology of itself reduced took a major burden from the shoulders on the shoulders of our security specialists and analysts. That innovation is not available for anyone else. That's why they have to do a lot of investment in human resources and AI resources for threat hunting and detection of threats and so on. Threat hunting starts with detection of threats. But anyways, SOC services, Xcitium SOC services, MDR and XDR, they do provide you with these services. Just to give you an idea, when we talk about MDR as per Gartner definition, is when you manage endpoints where your client is installed. If you want to manage extended further to the network, like you want to manage network traffic from firewalls, from Office 365, from cloud, from anywhere, or from what we call them dark endpoints, like endpoints connected to your network without a security client installed in them, or ROG access points used like to give DHCP IP addresses to devices and reroute their traffic and sniff their data and stuff like that. That's where you need XDR. You need to have network visibility. You need to have NDR visibility. You don't have to have the full functionality of NDR, but you should have at least sensors that sniff that traffic and report that traffic in one integrated platform. So MDR is for endpoints only. XDR is for endpoints plus network traffic that comes from any source, as I said, like Office 365 and others. But threat hunting is available as a service. The license for Xcitium is based on endpoints per year. Yes, 100%. And yeah, we do have a comparison with CrowdStrike. It could be, it's available online. We'll share the link with you. As I told you, CrowdStrike, no matter how good it is, it's one of the best EDRs in the world. CrowdStrike depends on detection. They're so good at detection. They're so good with their AI on detection. They're so good with automating their services and so on, but still detection. Detection cannot give you enough protection today. And that's why even some CrowdStrike customers were compromised recently, like in the last few months even. Okay, so the other question, other than RD party integration, what's the major differentiator between managed and complete? So managed is MDR, where Xcitium SOC team will be managing or collecting logs from your endpoints. XDR is where you have sensors connected to your traffic and sniffing traffic, sniffing metadata, security metadata from your traffic and reporting it back to the SOC. So you manage the network side and the endpoint side. That's like the highest level of peace of mind, if you may. What's the achievement of Xcitium in oil and gas? Oh, the largest oil and gas company is a customer of Xcitium. One of the largest, not the largest, one of the largest, which is Shell in our region. Shell is one of the unique customers that Xcitium has. It will fulfill the functionality of SIEM. Yeah, it reports to SIEM. If you get the MDR service from Xcitium or the XDR service, you get a free cloud SIEM from Xcitium team. So it integrates with SIEM. It reports data to SIEM as any other endpoint protection tool. Where is the cloud hosted in case of cloud-based solution? It's hosted on AWS. So there's an operation in the US and there is an operation in Europe, in the European Union. what is the solution delivered from Xcitium if working on premises? Again, the solution from Xcitium is a cloud-based solution, despite the fact that the Xcitium client can work alone without a cloud. We can install proxies on premises, especially for updates, like when you update the version of the software, or you want to update the antivirus database, because you remember there is an antivirus piece, which is not the containment, not the ZeroDwell, but there is an antivirus piece. So you can have a proxy, get the updates, and then spread and distribute those updates using your local network to save the bandwidth, or maybe for some sensitive devices that you cannot connect to the internet. But we cannot say it's an on-premises solution. It's a cloud-based solution. Do you have solutions for Azure? Yes, of course. Any operating system, no matter where it runs, whether it runs on your laptop or on a virtual machine or a cloud instance on Azure, on AWS, we still can protect it. Whether it's Linux or Windows, we still can protect it. How about database protection? No, we do not do database protection. In case, if you're referring to solutions such as database access management, like Imperva and the IBM database access management. No, we do not do that. We do not protect databases. So how the agents are getting, but it's a good question. I wanna point that. It's an amazing question, man. Do you know why? Because remember when I said to you guys that endpoints are the end games? They are the end games. The operating system is the end game to protect, but also we should take, we don't provide that solution as part of Xcitium offering, but you should think even about taking protection to the level of the application itself through the runtime of self-protection, runtime application self-protection, RAS, or through database access management and on all of that. You should even take protection to the level where you allow each application by itself to protect itself. Not only the operating system, which is the endpoint, or not only the network layers and cloud protection and so on. How the agents are getting updates and what is the frequency, this is all configurable. So, and when you build your Xcitium enterprise platform and apply a profile, you can choose from that profile like when to check for updates and how to get these updates and which version you want to go to, the latest stable version or the latest version, or it's all configurable with multiple options. There are default configurations, but you can change them. So they get updates online, or if you want them through a proxy server to save bandwidth, we can do that. Abid, there is, what about the integration of threat intelligence with the EDR, and do you offer threat intelligence standalone platform? No, we can give you threat intelligence through other platforms like Security, or you can get it from anyone else like Anomaly or Group IB and stuff like that. But Xcitium itself doesn't give you a threat intelligence platform. They use threat intelligence themselves, and they are part of those platforms, but they do not sell it as a commercial, as part of their commercial offering. Can I know the average budgetary cost per endpoint, please, for Xcitium Advanced? What I can say to you, please reach out to us, but we're gonna blow your mind off. The guys at Xcitium, thanks to Ryan and thanks to his management, they gave us a program called, for the Middle East and Africa, called Rip and Replace. And under the Rip and Replace, we're selling the Xcitium Advanced license probably at 15% of its retail price in the US. The same license you buy it from the US, you can get it at probably 15% of the price in the Middle East and Africa, thanks to their support to our region, because they have a great focus on our region this year. Is the agent, does it affect the performance of the endpoint? Again, yes. Sorry, no. As Ryan said, and as always said, as I always say to you guys, the impact is 1 to 3% maximum. 3% for old operating systems such as Windows XP. That's 1 to 3%. which is enormous, really low. Our impact on your endpoint is really low. And again, because of the innovation, we work at the lowest level, at ring 0. If you remember the operating systems, at the ring 0 level. And at that level, you don't really consume resources, even with your virtualization and so on, because we don't do virtualization like the stuff we know. It's not like server virtualization. It's not sandboxing. It's not desktop virtualization. We virtualize your critical resources, your file system driver, your network driver, your I/O driver, your registry, and so on. So our impact is minimal. We can contain, isolate, and virtualize hundreds of unknowns with 1 to 3% impact on your endpoint. How easy it is to migrate from to Xcitium from existing solutions? Policies, agent configuration. Yes, there are best practices for that. Now, the great thing with Xcitium is that you first enroll devices, and enrollment of devices doesn't require you to uninstall your security controls. So if you have Kaspersky there, you can keep it. We enroll the device, then from the Xcitium Enterprise platform, you will be able to check the software inventory, look at processes, run cleanup procedures, generate reports, do remote management, apply policies, and so on. And then you can go in steps of migration. But in the end, before you push the security client from Xcitium, you must uninstall. You must get to the through a removal tool, like a mass removal tool, or directly uninstall Kaspersky and whatever endpoint protection that you have to avoid any conflicts. Remember, Xcitium clients goes down to your kernel through the kernel filters. It's the only one that does that, the only one that's successful so far. People are trying to do it, but they failed. The only one successful so far is Xcitium. And when it goes down to the kernel, that is an aggressive behavior that triggers your Kaspersky or whatever Trend Micro to respond, and it causes, it's gonna get your device to the blue screen. How easy to migrate? Yeah, as I said, so there are steps and there are best practices and there is professional services, but it's easy. We've done it. We've done it a lot. Most of, actually not most, all of our installations in the Middle East and Africa are migrations. So we migrated from CrowdStrike, we migrated from Kaspersky, we migrated from Trend Micro. So all of our installations are migrations. Sentinel-1, all of them are migrations rather than fresh installations to existing, to like a fresh greenfield installation. So, I think we're done with questions. I'm gonna wrap up our story with compliance, guys. Again, sorry for going through that, like the detailed answers, but it answers a lot. So going back to the theme of compliance. Now, why do we need compliance? Because it's becoming a huge thing, whether we like it or not. We need it, of course, for protection. We need it to be able that we are, as service providers, we don't impose threat to our partners. So if you operate part of the infrastructure of, I don't know, a huge organization, a hospital, or anyone else, or you supply projects and implementation services and you do testing in their environment and so on, you are a threat to their environment. They call it a third-party threat. Your internal operation, the way you manage your digital assets, the way you manage your security controls, the way the processes, and like if you have solid processes of how you handle activities, is a critical piece when it comes to reducing your third-party risk to your customer or to your partner. Whether it's ARAMCO or others, we mentioned the name of ARAMCO because it's a big thing now, but it could be anyone. And when it comes to compliance, there are like major components. Xcitium covers a lot from the technical side of the compliance. But like if you want to go with SANS 02 or want to go with ISO 27001, you will find that Part of it is related to your policies. So you need to develop policies. You need to develop cybersecurity policy. You need to educate your employees and your subcontractors on how to use that policy and how to comply with it. You have to put controls to ensure that these policies are applied. Like, for example, if you don't allow any disk to be used, you have to configure your firewall to block it. If you don't allow, I don't know, you don't allow data leakage, then you have to have data leakage controls to block access to USB memory sticks or attachments or anything else. So you put policies in place and you make sure that you have controls that fulfill and enforce these policies. That's a piece. A second piece, which is a technical piece. Before I go to the technical, because that's what Xcitium is, the second piece is related to people. So you should have education systems. You need to train your employees continuously. Cybersecurity education. They need to know what credentials mean and what credential loss could cause. You need to know. They need to know what phishing is and what the common techniques and tactics used to phish or to succeed in a phishing attack. They need to know when I get an email message that is pushing me to click on a link, or that sounds so good to be true, or that is coming from one of my bosses, but it's a different domain. I've seen like some of these domains, like one of them was like xyz.com, then it became xyz.r.com or something like that. They do minor changes. Like some of them write Riyadh with RIYAD only. Some of them add an H to it. That is a sign of phishing attacks. That requires a lot of education. Lots of education non-stop, because the weakest link you have, as Ryan said, is people. There will be, whether you like it or not, someone that comes to the office and will click on that phishing link. You want to reduce the number of those people by training them. The last one is technical, and that's where Xcitium and other providers come into the picture. So if you go to SANS, for example, which is ARAMCO, SEC, and many other large organizations depend on, including Emirates Airlines and many others, they require you to have endpoint protection. So you must have endpoint protection. They require you to have firewalls enabled. So you should have firewalls enabled, and that is provided by Xcitium, endpoint protection, firewall. They require you to have continuous scanning of your endpoints. Xcitium provides you with that. They require you to have patch management. So they require you to have a central location in which you can display all of your endpoints and have reports about their patches and on their vulnerabilities and whether they need to be patched or not. And you need to be able to push those patches. Xcitium provides you with that through the Xcitium Enterprise platform. So one platform gives you the endpoint protection, which is the next generation antivirus, the containment, the EDR, the firewall, the HIPS, host-based intrusion prevention, and URL filtering and DLP, all on the host. One side, they give you patch management and vulnerability assessment, mainly for Windows devices. We have a workaround for Mac devices. They give you, as I said, also vulnerability assessment, and they give you endpoint management and mobile device management tools to allow you apply policies, because you need to apply policies. You need to prevent people from, I don't know, using USB memory sticks. You need to enforce a policy related to your screensaver, for example, or prevent people from taking screenshots or stuff like that. Those policies can also be provided through the MDM/EMM tool that is provided by Xcitium. And they are all in one platform, which means that one list of digital assets, and many of the compliance requirements come from digital assets management. So you get one list of digital assets instead of having one coming from, I don't know, from manage engine, one of them coming from CrowdStrike, and one of them coming from Active Directory. So you've got multiple lists, one list provided by Xcitium, and one list of digital assets, your endpoints, where you can employ patch management policies and scanning, frequent scanning daily or whatever, look at vulnerability assessment, apply policies and run procedures and monitors, do remote control of those devices without using any disk, and please do not use any disk. It's a vehicle of disaster. So Xcitium platform allows you to remote and take control of remote devices from the platform as an admin, or install software remotely or uninstall software remotely, and so on. So all of these cover probably, from SANS, they cover probably at least 15 requirements or controls in the SANS requirements, like ARAMCO, havoc, and Emirates Airlines, and many others, including the information assurance, which is required in the United Arab Emirates, and many others. So that's like 15 to 16 controls in your compliance in one platform. Can you imagine? Imagine that even the amount of savings you do. Like, look at the amount of money you pay to for patch management, the amount of money you pay for MDM and EMM for remote control and policies enforcements and so on, the amount you pay for vulnerability assessment, the amount you pay for endpoint protection, and all of that. We give you one platform and under one license, and it is now, thanks to Xcitium, under the Rip and Replace program, being sold at 15% of its original price, just to show support to our region. There's a question here. So then, what out-of-the-box solutions available with it? Out of the box are instantly exactly the ones I said to you. The moment you buy the license, you get all pre-execution tools, next generation antivirus, firewall, HIPS, URL filtering for the endpoint, DLP for the endpoint, and so on. You get post-execution tools, which is EDR, and you get containment in the middle, and then you get patch management, vulnerability assessment, MDM and EMM, and in the end, you get a simple compliance tool where you can set your rules and find out how compliant your endpoints compared to these tools. Now, if you add the two other solutions which Ryan mentioned from the parent company of Xcitium, which is Komodo Secure Internet Gateway or Komodo Email Gateway, that adds probably another 10 or five controls. Because with the Secure Internet Gateway, you will be able to configure URL filtering. With URL filtering, you block websites based on DNS, you block the entire network with specific URL filter, apply it to specific segments in your network or to everyone, and so on. It's a different approach of URL filtering, not the usual one that you're used to, which is an application layer view. It's a DNS view. If you add that with email security, you apply all the email security requirements, all the records, and what you're required to make sure that your email is secure with secure email gateway. It's called SEG, or Secure Email Gateway. That's probably 3 or 4 requirements, like SPIF and others, DKIM. You can configure them all there. This takes like another 5, probably 3 or maybe 4 or 5 controls from the SANS. And as I told you, SANS is like the basis of ARAMCO, information assurance, Emirates Airlines, and others. Where is your cloud hosted? The cloud is hosted on AWS. There is AWS. Now, today, the nodes are in the US and in Europe. AWS opened like in the last couple of years in the UAE, and there is a plan from Xcitium to start an AWS node in the UAE. So wherever there is AWS network, availability zones, we can have the Xcitium nodes implemented. POC, we're ready. Please contact my colleague Nadir. We can do it tomorrow if you want. Nadir will share a calendar with you that shows you the availability for POCs. Choose the time you like, book us, and we will immediately. I can share it here actually.
And Mo, just to give some more clarification on the AWS instance, there is
Yes,
the AWS instance obviously in Dubai as of recent, but the only thing that we are waiting on right now is the meshing of the Google instance as well for our EDR telemetry. So we're just waiting for the Dubai AWS instance to gain that Google access as well for our EDR telemetry. So that's the only thing that's really in the roadblock there, but that's the same problem for every organization that's really out there right now. So
right.
we understand that a lot of the things are lightening up, and some of the, obviously we're getting more compliant, but they're obviously seeing the need of moving forward to the cloud. And then Mode, I don't want to take up the last few minutes here, but we still do have a good amount of participants. So I appreciate everyone kind of hanging out with us for as long as you have been. But I want to just share one more thing, if that's okay, Mode.
Yes.
Okay, so I just really quick, guys, I'm just going to share my screen one more time. And listen, I don't want this to seem as like some type of, scare tactic, but this is something that maybe we have to. I always like to say that we just need to look inward, and I can put this blog in the chat if needed. It's one of my favorite websites to actually use. But what this blog is, guys, is this is all of the big public data breaches in North America just in 2023. I just want you guys to know that every single company that's on this list, really quick before I kind of start dropping a couple of names. These are all Fortune 500 companies in North America, right? So you can imagine with the size of these billion-dollar organizations that they have everything in place, that they are using what they think is one of the top tier products in the cyber industry. So just really quickly, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to show you a couple, kind of starting back up in January. Look, we have Twitter was breached. We have Norton, that's Symantec, was breached back in January. We have PayPal. We have T-Mobile, which unfortunately you're going to see them a lot on this list. They're obviously one of the biggest cell phone providers in all of North America. They've been breached about 4 times this year, which is pretty scary considering all their customer base. We have companies like Pepsi. Everyone knows Pepsi. We have Activision. That's like the video game company like Call of Duty. We have Verizon. You're going to see them on the list a couple of times here. Unfortunately, even me as an American, man, you're going to see the United States government on this list about 4 or 5 times. They're actually protected by Bitdefender, by Microsoft. So that's a little scary. Yeah, AT&T. We have Amazon. We have ChatGPT. I imagine all of us have probably used it at least once, but it looks like we probably had some data stolen there. Uber, MSI, computer part manufacturer. We have T-Mobile again, Discord. Let's see some of the other big ones here. We got, a big one back with the United States State Department in July that they denied that they were involved in a breach and failed. And then a couple weeks later, they acknowledged it and said that they did fail from their Office 365 vulnerability. So they were successfully hacked by the Chinese. NATO, it's a pretty big name there. And then we have even some of the bigger golf brands there, Callaway. This is the MGM Casino in Las Vegas that I was mentioning earlier. Look at that. Their cybersecurity vendor instructed them to pay $15 million in Bitcoin to the bad actors. T-Mobile, again, as I mentioned, there's 38 terabytes of data. That's not that much. Leaked by the Microsoft AI division. We have T-Mobile being breached again, and then unfortunately Sony's was breached twice in 2 months. That was a pretty bad 60 days for them, on top of the 60,000 emails stole from the State Department by the Chinese again. And the reason I like to show this, guys, is that obviously for you guys, there's a lot of people that are in this call now that obviously we're probably not anywhere close to being this size of an organization. But my point here is think about it. Every single one of these organizations is a multi-billion-dollar organization. They invest millions upon millions of dollars into their cybersecurity posture. They have the best solutions. You can't see me here. Actually, you know what? I'll turn my video on really quickly. Oh, I can't. It's okay. That's in quotation, right? They have the best cybersecurity vendors that they think. They have their best solutions like those MDR, XDR technologies. They have ethical hackers working for them, fighting against the bad guys to protect their intellectual property. But look, even with all of those boxes that they've checked, all the things that they're doing right, they're still getting breached. And as Mode mentioned, with all these compliancy issues, guys, it's very important. For example, this one that I was highlighting earlier with MGM Casino in Las Vegas, this all started with a piece of malware dwelling inside of their environment that was injected through a phishing email. And then, unfortunately, because of that injection, they were able to successfully phish one of their employees on the phone and pretended to be someone of importance within their IT and within their organization. And they gave the bad actor access to their resources and to their environment. And this is where the damage came from. For us, I truly think that, and I know that in this scenario, whenever that end user went on to click on that phishing email and then opened up that vulnerability for the bad actor to cause this breach and cost over $50 million in damage for this organization, it would have stopped with our containment process in the first place. It would have never been able to deploy and cause the damage that it caused. And that is, you know, from a high level, guys, if you're talking to your bosses or talking to your customers, think about it this way. Xcitium will never give access to any unknown to your critical resources until we know that that executable is safe. So instead of just hoping and praying, and really one of the last things that I like to truly show is our transparency page. As Mode mentioned, we post all of our statistics and we have a very prestigious third party that verifies all of this information. So to kind of clarify here for a second, this green box here in the middle, guys, this is 0% breach for all of our customers. We've been posting this data since all the way back in October of 2020. And what I want you guys to see is I mentioned that September breach, right, with MGM Casinos. Let's look at September. As you guys can see, everything in purple here is how much of the things that we contained with our containment that turned out to be benign, right? Look, in the middle of November, 99% of the things that we contained as an organization turned out to be safe. This is why these organizations are giving access to those unknowns, because most of the time it's safe. But look back in September when that breach happened against MGM Casino, 85% of the things, that means 15% of the things that we were containing on over 4 million endpoints turned out to be malicious. That is a lot of malicious activity. And you saw all the big breaches that happened in September this year. So from your perspective, you might be thinking, well, of course, Ryan, they're targeting these massive organizations. They have all the money to pay these bad guys, right? But think about it from your perspective. A lot of you might have some simple solutions, right? You might have just an antivirus and just an EDR platform. You have nothing that these guys had, and they were still breached. So think about your cybersecurity posture. Think about you trying to get compliant and trying to make that, you know, that new goal for 2024 for your environment and your security posture. You may not have any of the things that they had in this level. And even though they had all those millions of dollars invested, which I know a lot of us are, you know, fighting for a couple dollars for our cybersecurity posture, these companies had all of them. They checked every single box and were still breached. So think about your organization and where you're at for your cybersecurity posture. Think about how one simple mistake, right? Because that's the way we have to think about it, right? Is that us as a cybersecurity vendor, we have to be right every single time. The bad guy has to be right once. And that's how simple as it can be, is one click from one phishing email can ruin your entire organization. And unfortunately, guys, unlike these big guys like Sony and all these governmental companies, they have the money to recover from these breaches and to, you know, splash it with marketing and talk about how they're changing and doing things differently, right? For most SMB and mid-market customers, when they have a successful ransomware breach and they pay the ransom, they usually go out of business within 6 months, right? So if you want to, you know, become secure and have that peace of mind, like I've said a million times, give Mode a call, guys. I promise you guys will not be disappointed. We are free to do any demonstrations, to do POCs, answer any questions you might have, give you in-depth, breakdowns between us and any other vendor that you want to see. And we can show you how we can get you cybersecurity compliant, and also maybe consolidate a lot of the current licenses that you're paying for, maybe even save you some money while enhancing your current protection. Listen, I know that we've made a lot of bold claims here today, guys. If you don't believe us, challenge us. You're going to see it. And I think that you will all be very, very impressed. And of course, you guys cannot go wrong working with Mode and the Distilogix team. They are seriously, guys, I work on all of EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. They are my favorite partner because they make my job so easy and they truly understand our technology. So give us a shot. Challenge your current vendor and come see a demo sometime next week. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. And there was a question here about MDM and EMM force remote connections. Yes, we do the full RMM capabilities. We give you the full RMM capabilities, so you can remote into devices, take control of them, send commands, send codes, and install applications, uninstall it. The full RMM capabilities are available through the MDM. And as I told you, this is just part of the what we call the defense in depth provided by Xcitium. Xcitium provides you with the security core, and they added so many layers on top of it to enhance your security posture. Before we go, as we promised you guys, there will be vouchers. Those vouchers, I think Ryan will be given like 4 or 5. I forgot.
Well, I think I've got a nice amount of cash stacked in front of me here that I can send over to you guys. So I'm just gonna review with Mode and the team, and we're gonna pick a few winners. So the lucky winners, you'll be receiving an email from myself and Mode, and we'll send you over these awesome awesome gift cards or whatever it might be for you guys that you'll be able to have access to very quickly. Okay, so seriously, I appreciate all the engagement, guys. We had so many questions. This is honestly, Mode, we've done a lot of successful webinars with Mode. This one right here, I can't believe how much engagement we have. We really, really appreciate it. And I think that a lot of this just came from you guys being open-minded and open to hearing about something maybe a little different that challenges the status quo. So
yeah, great. And again, guys, it's because of you. It was an awesome session because you guys are awesome. You're our true treasure here. So thank you for coming in. And to answer the last couple of questions, do you have comparison sheets with the top cybersecurity tools? Yeah, we do have that, and they are online. We will share them by email. No, it's okay. It's okay to ask anytime, man. That's perfectly fine. We really were so thrilled with you guys being with us. We're so happy to always have you. Ryan, I cannot find the words to thank you, man. You're always there for us, even in the middle of the night. Thank you for your support to our region, and we are looking forward for the next webinar with you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a lot of fun and have some peace of mind when you have Xcitium protecting your endpoints. Thank you.